Try to speed up the, this is actually my last slide, so one more slide after this. So that was the business level on the last slide. This then shifts to kind of the individual level, and so as a business runner or as an entrepreneur, there are, as you go through this and you do it a number of times, you sort of take away your learnings, and so these are some of the things that I tend to focus on. And I've actually made it a point in my career to start writing these things down as I'm going through each of these jobs. Okay, here's what I got to remember for the next job, and add that to the quiver of arrows you've got. So, being results oriented, I mean, I put that at the top because we're in business for a reason, and so you got to deliver the results. Within Accenture, we have this kind of framework, these three bubbles that you see here, that we tend to orient and assess ourselves individually in terms of our performance, and assess specifically our results in these areas. So, value creator. Are you growing the business at the top line? Are you adding value to your clients that you're serving, in our case? Innovating, those kinds of things go into value creator. Business operator is just that, running a business, delivering the P&L, the bottom line, making sure you've got quality, etc. And people developer being the third bubble in terms of growing talent, promoting talent, weeding out the people that need to get off the bus, as I said. And so we look at it in sort of those three bubbles. And the other point I would make is it's got to be balanced. I can't tell you how many times I've had people who are absolute superstars in one of these three areas, and you just try to get them to sort of balance themselves out and develop the other areas, and they just don't. And so they end up failing and leaving. So all three are equally important and have to be balanced. Working hard, I think you've heard lots of comments today about working hard. That's certainly been my experience. There's been this myth, I think, when I was starting out that, well, when you get to the top, life gets easier, you can kind of slack off. I haven't experienced that at all. Maybe because I'm always starting something new, but there you go. Confidence, being an optimist, I think is a part of that. So you personally have to be that way. You have to have confidence, you have to show confidence. But you also have to make it a point, very intentionally, to build that confidence in your people, right? So not tear them down, not undermine them, really help kind of build that confidence in them. Having a strong bias for making decisions, taking actions, not letting yourself get paralyzed, not taking forever to analyze something. I always look at it as, hey, if we get an 80% batting average, and we make the decisions fast, that's okay. The 20% we got wrong, it'll be fine, right? We'll figure out how to recover from that. Keeping it simple, just keeping very simple. When people come into work every day, they shouldn't have more than 2 or 3 things that they're going to focus on, because they just thrash if you try to add more than that to the list. And that's a struggle, to be honest. Every one of these businesses that I've run, the temptation is there to say, oh, well, here's something else we should do. Here's something else we should do. And pretty soon, the list is so long that nobody's doing those things. They're just kind of thrashing around. So keeping very simple, short list. If you're going to add something to the list, you better go look at what you're going to take off the list, just to keep it that simple and that focused. Team sport. I use this all the time with the teams as I'm putting them together, because I really believe in this one strongly. The collaboration together is a big part of that. Being open about checking your thinking with others, about asking for help. I mean, we view that as a strength, not a weakness. Lots of organizations I see are the opposite. People feel like, well, I can't go ask for help because that'll be seen as a weakness. And so we really encourage the opposite, and I encourage the opposite. As well as everybody plays their position. So in a team sport, that's the only way the team succeeds. My son, my middle child, played soccer, and I never knew anything about soccer. And his team was very good. They won the state championship a few years ago here in Ohio. And I learned a lot in watching them play soccer that I've taken back and thought about from a business standpoint, because it is a beautiful game, as they say. And what makes it beautiful is everybody is playing sort of their position. The ball is moving to where the person is going, not where they've been. And they trust each other, and they know that the guys are going to be in their positions where they need to be. And when it works that way, which when you get to the level of winning a state championship, it really does, it's just fantastic, right? And so I really try to bring that back into our business and remind people, look, you need to do these things, let him do those things, let that person do those things. and let's make this work as a team. So, and then lastly, the balance and the fun has been said a couple times. It's easy to burn out, right? So you better make sure you're having fun while you're doing this. Your team's having fun. Everybody's got some reasonably healthy balance. So yes, you're going to work hard, but I think you can still achieve that. And last but not least, just coming all the way back, because I think one of the questions, if I remember right, in this whole thing was, how did Case Western prepare me? I think it prepared me extremely well. The things I learned coming up through the engineering school, in terms of technical skills, in terms of analytical skills, problem solving, really hard problems, right? Because life is not multiple choice. And life is usually not straightforward problems where there's kind of one answer and one way to do it. And that's certainly true in my business experience. So that stuff, but then also kind of additionally the skills that I got getting my MBA and just through all my on-the-job experience, sort of broadening out in terms of business skills. And we put in a couple plugs here today, I think, Gary, for the TIME program. And the MEM degree, but that's kind of what it's about. And this metaphor that we use of this T shape, where you've got the base of the T that's really deep in terms of your technical depth, your analytical skills, problem solving, but then you add that with the top of the T, which is not going to be as deep, but the skills around working in teams, communication skills, both writing and presenting, business skills, basic business understanding. That to me is what I got coming through here. I did it in the old-fashioned way of engineering and then MBA. I think there's lots of other ways to get that, but I think that's ultimately a really great model to think about as you're coming up. So there you go.
Thank you, Don. A couple of quick announcements. First, I'd like to thank you. Thank you so much. Couple of announcements. First of all, we're going to meet here for the symposium this afternoon after lunch rather than going to the Grace 312. So come back here after lunch. Also, there will be lunch over in Nord 310. From there, we'll have a keynote lecture in Strosacker, and then from Strosacker, come back here. So maybe we can take a few minutes. Myra, if you'd like to come back up and see if there are any questions for Myra or Don. Yes.
Myra, one of your bullet points was responsibility for British Petroleum North America, Gulf of Mexico. So could you give us some insight into what your world would have been like? Would you have been being grilled by the Senate committee, or would something like that be part of your world?
Well, I certainly would have had to prepare the North American president, who's Lamar McKay, in what the issues would be. We've actually had training in handling media and media questions, which is why it's always, usually the answers are obtuse, but somewhat training. But that's clearly, I would not have been in the front line on that case, but in my role as Chief of Staff, I was involved in investor relations, and that clearly fell within that category. Actually, it was an interesting discussion last weekend. I was at, in Houston, is the OTC, the Offshore Technology Conference, and that's the largest oil industry conference in the world. It's held at the Reliance Center, which is at the old Astrodome, and had an opportunity to talk most of the BP officials, as well as Halliburton and Transocean and Cameron, who are the principal players in the events that's going on right now, are really tight-lipped. So the industry was surmising what had gone wrong, and there was a little bit more free thinking and discussions about it, getting a whole bunch of engineers together.